Nigeria says preparations for the headquarters of its new $5 billion Africa Energy Bank will be ready by the end of the year and on time for the official opening early in 2025. This was revealed earlier by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Lokpobiri, in an exclusive interview with Arise News at the ongoing Africa Energy Week conference in South Africa.
Tell me about Nigeria's readiness to host the African Energy Bank. $5 billion is what the initial capital is. What's the update on that?
I think that, one of the greatest achievements of this present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is attracting the headquarters of the African Energy Bank. This bank will start with $5 billion, and it's projected, to grow, an asset bid of about $120 billion in the next 5 years. $5 billion alone, I don't know how many other sectors have been able to attract in one swap an investment worth $5 billion. And this is as a result of what members of APO, members of the African Petroleum Producers Organization, in collaboration with Afrexim Bank, decided to do in order to bridge a funding gap, in the oil and gas sector. Recall that the West is exhibiting a highest level of hypocrisy. In one breath, they are ramping up production. No country in the West is slowing down production. America is the highest producer of oil and gas today. Norway is ramping up production. Britain just gave, last year, over 100 licenses for exploration in the North Sea. But the difference between, African oil and gas investments and those in the West is that they can attract funding to invest in their clients, but we don't have. And so we started thinking as ministers, of APO, and decided that we should, establish Africa Energy Bank. And 8 countries, vied for the headquartership of the bank. Thanks, to the confidence that, we're able to bring to the table. Nigeria, was given the right to host. And we're doing everything we can as part of the obligations for the hosting rights, including provision of a building, signing the, host country agreements, and all the things that we need, including paying up our own subscription. As of today, Ghana has paid only $20 million. We have paid about $70 million. And we are going to pay the $83 million minimum, contribution needed for Nigeria. The money is available, it's just bureaucracy. So we're going to do that. So this is one of the most important, things that we've been able to attract to Nigeria. It's important that, look, as part of our, struggle to ensure that we have energy security, we need to find the money. Oil and gas only adds value if you invest money and bring it out from the ground to the market. That is where it has value. And because we have identified that the biggest challenge is funding, and that is why this bank is being brought. And everybody is interested in investing. Once the bank takes off, this bank will grow in a manner that will change the entire financial landscape in Nigerian banking. As of today, you won't see any bank that has a capital base of $5 billion, which is 8.5 trillion. You won't find it.
Now, what does it really mean for Nigeria as Africa's biggest oil and gas producer to host very important banking institution on the continent?
Nigerians in the oil and gas sector will be the biggest beneficiaries because we have, over 37 billion barrels. We have over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas. And if we talk about local players, no other country can boast of the number of local players that we have in Nigeria. And that is why Nigerian, oil and gas investors, who haven't been able to maximize their potentials because of lack of funding, will be the biggest beneficiaries. And I believe that it will be one of the greatest innovations, one of the greatest, benefits that will accrue to the oil and gas sector.
How early next year will the African Energy Bank be taking off in Nigeria?
Yeah, we are ready. We are ready to host the bank. Part of what we agreed that we'll do was to get a befitting building, which was inspected before the headquarters was given to us. Right now, renovation work is going on. we hope to complete the renovation work before the end of the year. And so once that happens, the agreement we had on Friday last week by the Council of Ministers of Apple is that the bank will take off by the first quarter of next year. We believe that we'll be ready before the end of the year. So that the rest will be between Afreximbank and the management of Apple to take a date as to when the bank will actually be launched.
Now, the Afreximbank has proposed that you countries that produce oil and gas can use your reserves as collateral for loans in the international financial marketplace and leverage these reserves for funding that are needed. Do you agree with that proposal?
Brilliant idea. Very, very brilliant idea. And I hope that we'll be able to, ensure that this is someday implemented. Because the barrels are just under the ground, and we can leverage on those discoveries already made. But the only factor militating against that is the smear campaign against production of oil and gas. The West is producing, but they're asking us to stop. They're making us some Greek promises to say, look, you stop, I give you some gifts. Even if you give $100 billion to Nigeria, it means nothing. Meanwhile, they haven't kept. Just like what was said by by NJ. They said $100 billion will be given every year. They haven't kept any promise because they know that they are not sincere with that. So the West is ramping up production. We need to continue to work on our fiscal terms, on our regulatory environment. We need to create an atmosphere that is globally competitive so that investors can come, have confidence to come, and then we can leverage on our reserves. And like what he said, we can get some money ahead of production and then build our infrastructure, and then they will recover the investment from the investments that they will make, to extract the crude, and then gas, from the soil. So it's an ingenious idea, and I'm looking forward to the day that it will be implemented in Africa. And that's only happen when we create globally competitive environments to compete with the West. Because look, every company that has capacity to invest have to make decisions at some point in time as to where they want their capex to go. You don't want it to come to Africa. Even in Africa, every country has found oil. So Nigeria doesn't, have that position where it used to be that, okay, we're the only guys who are producing oil. No, every country now has made this copies. And so we must ensure that our fiscal terms are globally competitive so that investors will be attracted to come and invest and sustain the investments back home.